Good evening, guys. Welcome to Sniper Sundays. I hope you are all well and had a great weekend. We are ready to get into a new week. Lots and lots to get through in today's Sniper Sunday. So I'm going to get straight into it and just look at what we've got coming for the week ahead. So currently, what I'm going to go through today is many pairs to give you a broad view of the market. So just looking now, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 different pairs, including commodities that I'm going to look through. Now, obviously, I understand that for many of you guys, especially new traders, 17 pairs may be a lot to look at. But the reason I do this is for one, so you guys can understand as you start to add more pairs to your watch list, if you only stick to a few pairs, that you can understand why your pairs are moving and how important the correlation is between one pair and another pair and commodities and understanding the whole market. For me, when I'm looking at charts, I'm looking at taking a trade. Before I take a trade, I'm looking at 4 or 5 different pairs to understand how the pair that I'm looking to trade is actually behaving. So I'm looking across a broad view of the market. And another reason I look at so many pairs is because I know so many of you have your own favorites. So for instance, some of you may have a favorite in Euro USD, but others may have a favorite in USD JPY, for instance. So I cover everything so you can understand the market and, of course, use this in line with your own analysis to be able to take your own trades. So many of you are showing me so many good entries and trades based off the analysis, because I'm basically telling you what's going to happen in the market and giving you a good blueprint and understanding of what's going to happen. So therefore, you can take that into the week ahead and help you with your own trading as well. So I'm going to start off the dollar index, which I normally do, and actually the commodities I'm going to start with this week. But just before that, I'm going to jump into the fundamentals because we do have a busy fundamental week ahead of us. So Monday, we've got some Euro news coming out all during the day. So we've got some Euro news is sort of on the forefront for the start of the week. Then we've got, which is interesting because we had a strong finish to the end of the week with the Euro, which we're going to get to in a minute. Then Tuesday, early in the morning, 5:30 a.m. I'm going to be up watching this early, watching this coming into the London session. We're going to be watching the Aussie dollar pair as we've got the cash rate and the Reserve Bank of Australia bank statement. Then we've got Europe, more Euro news, Canadian dollar news, US dollar news, and New Zealand dollar news on Tuesday. Wednesday, a little bit more quiet. We've got US dollar non-farm employment change. Thursday, then we've got Aussie dollar back in again. Pound news, official bank rate, policy rate report, and then we've got US dollar unemployment claims on Thursday before the big one on Friday, which is of course non-farm payroll, employment change, unemployment rate from America and Canada, and we can see Canada has the unemployment rate coming out as well, and the Royal Bank, the Reserve Bank of Australia coming out as well. With more news, policy statements. So lots and lots of news. So this is really interesting because just before even looking at the fundamentals, my favorite things that I'm going to be looking out for this week are Australian dollar, the Canadian dollar. So I've added a few more Canadian dollar pairs because we're going to be watching out for that. There's lots of Canadian dollar news, and then pound is interesting. So there's lots and lots for us to look out for this week. So I'm going to start off the US dollar here at the beginning. Now we know that we were looking for the US dollar to find some support last week from the third touch of this trend line. We were sort of anticipating a bounce from this level, and we had sold Euro USD and GBP USD. Unlucky with GBP USD, spiked through our stop loss, a bit of a manipulation before dropping 100 pips. We'll get to that in a minute. But we're sort of looking for for the US dollar to find some strength from the trend line support and push up higher. However, what's happened is we've broken down through that. We've actually come down to the second point in this trend line, which is starting to break through, and we're starting to we're coming into an area of daily support. So this is on a daily time frame. So we've got daily support here, daily support here. So I am expecting the US dollar to find some support on the daily, which is going to be mean that we're going to see a nice push up on the daily, a nice push up from the US dollar because we're finding daily support. So you can see here we're just breaking through one support at the moment, quite a strong breakthrough. We have to see how the market's going to open on the market open as usual on Sunday. But I do anticipate possibly continuing the move from last week on Friday, as you now understand from the trading sessions that not just the trading sessions, but how the days also matter. Thursdays, Fridays, Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays. What different times of the week mean for the market. So last Monday was a quiet day, but as always, we expect a trend change on Wednesday stroke Thursday, and it came on Thursday this week and sort of had a big move. So at the moment, I'm expecting to continue pushing down lower and come into this sort of region. And then I'm looking to find some US dollar support and to find some support from this level. And I'm looking for a big push back up to the upside. Now, if I just remove these levels of support, what we can see is really the whole month of let's get rid of this. The whole month of April, we had a US dollar that was refined within this area. So we can see here from the start of 1st of April at the bottom of the screen there through to the 1st of May now. We've just broken out. So what we can see here is we've stuck within this range. We've had 2 highs, 2 lows, and we're just breaking out at this low at the moment. Now we are just managing to break out, so we'll be watching this level here. As I said, I do think we could possibly see a little bit more weakness on the US dollar to possibly pop down to this level. Take out this low. If we can take out this low, then we should see a strong push back up. Take out this low and then a strong push back up to the upside. However, what I'm looking for at the moment is for the US dollar to push back up to these levels, push back up to the top of this range, and possibly even push up higher into that sort of Fibonacci retracement area, which I was showing for the last couple of weeks, which is a sort of 61.8% retracement level up into this region here. But before we get too far, let's just look at what's in front of us. If we can find some support here, I'll be looking for the US dollar to push back up and test the top of this range. We're in this range. We could even just find support here very early in the week and not actually continue this push down. We have to watch this break of this range very carefully. But we have had a strong break. But remember, I always say the last candlestick on the Friday, don't always take that into too much consideration because it's the last move of the week and sometimes it can be false to base your analysis off it going into the new week. So we're going to be watching here, seeing if we can find some support. But I do anticipate maybe taking out this low here, which we already have, taking out this low, and then a reversal up to the upside. So with that in mind, we can see that there's a good possibility of US dollar finding some strength in this daily support region and making a push back up to the upside. US oil, just looking at this now, oil is going to be interesting because of CAD, Canadian dollar, and the effect that the US oil has on Canadian dollar. You can see here we've got 0.1, 0.2, and we're coming into 0.3 of the trend line. Bit messy at the moment, so not really an ideal to actually trade oil at the moment. But what I'm looking at is oil to understand the strength and weakness of the Canadian dollar. Now we're coming up to this the third touch of this trend line. Had a bit of a bullish push at the end of last week, but I do think we can see a bit of a push back down. You can see a bit of a pullback on oil, which could mean some Canadian dollar weakness before we see oil start pushing back up to the upside. So we'll be monitoring oil for a push back down. I don't really want to look at taking a trade on it at the moment, but we will be monitoring a push back down from these levels. And if we see a push back down back into sort of these levels down here, we can see we've got a sort of area of support. We'll see how it gets on down here, and then we could possibly look at taking a trade. But at the moment, from what I can see on the Canadian dollar, it's kind of giving us the insight that we could see some some weakness on US oil, which would confluence with the move, and we can see a push down here before then pushing it up to the upside and seeing some more, seeing this come up and try and test daily levels up here. We've got some simple daily support and resistance levels. Support broke through, resistance. We could come back up and test these levels again. You can see here we've actually got this little area that we're coming into now that we're going to find some resistance at the moment. If I just move this down here, you can see broke this as support, retest as a resistance, retest as resistance, broke through, broke now, retesting as resistance, could see find resistance and then come down and then find some support here, come back down to this level once again. So keeping an eye on oil, watching to see if we're going to have some weakness. We do have weakness, then we can see some weakness on the Canadian dollar. And we saw some weakness at the end of last week. And then gold is something that we've been watching. So gold, we're looking for a short trade up here to come back and have a third test of this trend line last week. However, we sold off from this level here, which is now the last lower high on this 4-hour chart. And at the moment, we can see that we're more or less in a triangle formation. So it's a bit risky taking a trade within this area. But if we do watch gold, we can see here that we could possibly see, we want to keep an eye on this, where we have a lower high, sorry, low, low, lower high, low, low, and could be coming up to make a lower high. At the moment though, the daily trend is bullish, and the 4 hour has just turned bullish now as well. So just dropping down to the 1 hour, I'm going to be keeping an eye on gold to make a push up higher. If we could have a little pullback into sort of these regions, we could look at taking an intraday long trade back up towards these levels. If we do take that trade, I'll be looking at taking some profit around this last lower high, and then maybe leaving some of the position to run to see if we can hit this outer trend line, maybe have a fake out, because we know triangles love to have a fake out. As you can see, we had another fake out here, so we could easily come up and have another fake out to the upside, and keep playing around until this decides where it wants to go. It could bounce around for a little while, especially coming into non-farm payroll week. We could have a bit of playing around at this area. Now, if we do see the US dollar continue to weaken at the start of the week, come down into sort of these levels here, then we may well see gold continue to just push up to around these levels down here, up here. If we do then in fact see the US dollar strength coming in from these lows down here, if we do find US dollar strength and we do have a push up, remember non-farm payroll week as well, if we do see a stronger US dollar, then we could see gold sell off from up around these levels. So that's the thing what we could be looking out for. But early in the week, we could be seeing that gold strength push back up to these levels, as I said, with that US dollar weakness. So we could be looking at an intraday trade higher with gold. So we'll be watching out for that. But these levels are worth keeping in mind, because this is the last lower high on this trend. And also we did notice last week that it reacted off that 61.8% retracement level here. Nice retracement from this level. We were looking at for us to come up and tap the 78. We know gold loves the 78.6%, but reacted off the 61% here and had a quick drop down to the downside. We fulfilled this fib now, so we move this to the last high. We can see we're now coming back up and having a bit of a retracement here. So we are even coming back up to this 61.8% at the moment, which is in line with 1700. So we're watching this, but I do think we obviously have to just see how the market opens up. If the market hadn't closed, then the 4 hour gold bulls were in charge, but the market could open up and see some weakness. We don't know, but these are levels to watch out for, and what levels we're going to be watching out for to see if there's possible trades at the early part of this week. We've got that sort of support, left shoulder head, possible right shoulder that will be looking up and pushing up to the upside. So that gives us an understanding of how these commodities could affect the rest of the market. Now we come to Euro US dollar. We know that it plays similar to the dollar index quite a lot. Dollar index in that range, Euro USD in that range from the 1st of April, just like the dollar index. So the dollar index has also been in so the Euro US dollar has also been in a bit of a range, as you can see. Made a low, made a high, made a low, fake out to the downside, and now we come up and we're having possibly a fake out to the upside. Now the euro had a strong end to the week, and US dollar had a weak end to the week. So if we were to continue the move from last week, I'm expecting this to continue this move up higher and continue maybe up until these levels here and somewhere up into this region. Drop down to the 4 hour. What we might see early in the week is a pullback, a slight pullback from these levels, which may just be some just a slight pullback in order to continue this push higher. So at the moment, the bulls are in control. So at the moment, I'm not looking at taking a sell against this unless we see something dramatically different at the moment. We do have a sort of trend here. I can't really see us with the strength that we had. I can't see us pulling back to these levels just yet. But I am going to be watching the US dollar index to just keep a close eye on that to see what could happen with Euro USD. At the moment, what I'm expecting is Euro USD to pop up and come up into these levels. If we can see a bit of a pullback, like I just mentioned, it may give us a nice opportunity to take a nice intraday long back up into these regions. And from these regions, what I'm expecting, if we can get that US dollar to find that support from down at these levels here, what we can be expecting is Euro USD then to find some resistance up around these levels and have a nice push back down into these regions once again. Where longer term, I think we're gonna have a real big push up higher, but we'll come back to that. That's too far ahead at the moment. So initially, I'm expecting this to continue this push up into these levels at the start of the week. It is non-farm payroll week, so we have to be vigilant on a Monday because the market may start trying to price in whatever is going to happen on Friday, and we're going to be looking for some telltale signs early in the week. But at the moment, I'm expecting this to come up a little bit higher from here, and let's see, we're at the 61.8. We can come anywhere up into this sort of 78.6% retracement level. We could still come up and tap into this region here. So watching out for that at the start of the week. Euro GBP, very, very strong at the moment, as we can see here. We're looking on Friday morning, hoping to see a pullback from this region to come back into this level, so we can look at taking a long trade. Look for this left shoulder, head, right shoulder, but the right shoulder never formed. We broke straight through this level here, this level of resistance, and we haven't looked back yet since. Now I do expect this to continue up higher as well. I do expect it to continue up higher into this region. So what we want to be looking for is a pullback on Euro GBP in order to look at trying to take a long trade up into sort of these regions here, where we could then possibly be look at taking a short trade down. Remember, even though we've had a very, very bullish day, the pound, or the Euro GBP, I should say, is still very, very bearish. As you can see here, this area I've highlighted here, big push down, low, lower high, lower low, lower high. Made a lower low, where we come out and took out that previous low here. So we've made a lower low now, making a reversal. One of the reasons why price will always take out previous lows or previous highs is to make that lower low and then make a push up, as you can see. But here is a very, very strong area of resistance. So we've had a daily bullish candle. Now we're going to be looking for a retracement. So we've been watching out for this. We've been looking for the Euro bulls to step in. Now what we're going to look for is a pullback on this pair into this region, where we can be looking at taking a long trade up into 0.8600, 860, sorry, or 0.8800, sorry, 0.8900, possibly come up as high as that. Before we'll be looking for a short trade back down. So I'm expecting some the Euro pairs to continue their push at the start of the week. Hopefully we can get a bit of a pullback. So Euro Steve, we might get a little bit of a pullback. We want to see a bit of a pullback here to look at taking along. And the same with Euro AUD and Euro NZD. So there was a big move on these two pairs at the end of last week. Thursday was bang, had a big move. Daily candle, morning star formation. But it is worth noting that this sort of came out of nowhere. We didn't hit a monthly support level. We had a quick turnaround. And with these levels, it hasn't been tried and tested. So these levels are open to being retested again, whether it be sooner or a little bit later. But I'm expecting price to come back down and test these levels. So coming up into these resistant areas here is where we're going to be watching out for this, because this can easily roll back over to the downside and come back down and test this level and maybe even take out this low. Even though we've had a very, very bullish move here, it's come out of the blue. There hasn't been much, it hasn't been any pullback, hasn't been any retracement. We've had continuous 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 bullish candles. There's not one pullback in order to be able to jump in and take this long. Again, on Friday, we're looking for a bit of a pullback to try and get into it, but we've continued bullish. So at the start of the week, what I'm expecting is to continue this push up into this resistance area. Again, if we can get a minor pullback into sort of this sort of level, it could be giving us a nice intraday trade to come back up into this resistance. But from this area here is where we can see this resistance is going to find some strong resistance once again, where I think can be proved to be a very, very good short trade from up around these levels. Because you have to remember that this is very, very bearish still, and the Aussie dollar and New Zealand dollar are quite have been very, very bullish. They are in for a retracement now, which we're watching, and which we're seeing the start off as last week, which we've been waiting to see in order to be able to get into a trade. So they are due a retracement, but I think that the retracement on the Aussie dollar and New Zealand dollar are going to be limited. And we're going to, that they're going to be limited, and we're not going to see a very, very, very deep pullback. So with that, what we can see here is Euro AUD, Euro NZD sort of push up into these levels where I'll be watching here. I think if we do see a turnaround back here, we can see a very, very nice short trade down and see a big push back down on these pairs. Euro NZD, similar situation. We've had, again, highlighted here, we've had a very, very quick turnaround. We haven't had a retracement just yet. Here is going to be an ideal level to look at taking short trades. We're going to expect this to extend this push up at the start of the week into this area where we've got resistance, we've got support here, support, resistance, 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 coming into this level, breaking this trend line at the moment. Here is going to be a very interesting level to look at possibly taking short trades. Whether we come all the way back down, we will have to see, but I do expect to be able to come back down, and we can see here we've got a nice area that we can come back down and retest, support, 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 find support, and then maybe have a push up. Euro JPY is quite interesting. We've been watching this for quite some time. Weekly, we have this strong double bottom here now. Even here we've got a double bottom. We've had this bullish engulfing, although it hasn't been the strongest. We've got this morning star formation. This is one of my favorite pairs to look at for a swing trade at the moment. I believe if we can see Euro, we may extend at the start of the week, like I said, with other pairs, but if we can get a pullback on Euro JPY into this region and find support, this is one where we could take a long entry and hold this for quite some time. I think if we can come back in here, find that retracement, find that support in this daily support area, then we're going to be looking at a very, very nice long-term trade. Let me just get rid of this. Get rid of these arrows. So I think that we could easily continue to start the week off by pushing, continuing the Euro push from last week, which means we might pop up into these levels, which if so, could see a nice trade back down. But I think that the bulls are going to really step in with Euro JPY with this nice bullish candle that we saw on Friday. So what we want to be doing is just watching very, very carefully, and rather than trying to take a short back down here, sorry, with these arrows, trying to take a short back down from this level here, this level, I want to see if we can pull back into this level here at any point. I think we can see a really, really nice trade. Risk reward, we might even have slightly bigger stop loss on this, but that would be because we need to give a bit of room for breathing. But I do expect this to have a nice push up. So this is one of my favorite ones that I'll be looking for as far as swing trades go. Because if we can see here, we're stuck down here for quite some time. We can break up and break this resistance. We're off to the upside. We've got lots of upside potential. We've got lots of areas up here that we can come up to. And if we're looking from taking a trade from down here and look at coming up to here, you can see it's a nice 500 plus pips. But this is a trade I think if we can get into this trade and take this I'm going to be watching this on the lower time frames. If we can get into this trade, then it's a trade that we're going to be just holding for quite some time and letting this just ride on the daily. We're getting in a strong daily level here, so we're going to be holding it until we find a strong daily level of resistance, which here is not very strong. Could possibly be up here, but if we really take over, we could possibly push up to these levels and even higher. So watching out for here. Keep Euro JPY on your watch list. Again, when we're talking about watch list, I'm going over like 17 pairs today, but on the morning call, I'm going to reduce for this week. I'm going to be reducing our morning call pairs to the pairs that look most interesting. So we're not going to go over the 17 pairs. I'm going to talk about them all today. We can keep an eye on them. I'll cover up the, say, 6 to 8 top pairs each day that we want to have a watch list on every morning. If any of the other pairs do come into a place where we want to take trades, I will, of course, still update the group with them. But what we're going to be looking for the next week is to concentrate and me to update you on the watch list of the pairs that we want to look out for the most that day. So we'll be reducing it down to about 6 or 8 pairs. So for instance, Monday, we may look at this Monday morning and be watching this like a hawk for a pullback down. However, I do think that with the euro strength at the end of the week, Japanese yen's a little bit a tricky one out of all pairs, but we'll have to see, and we might see an extension back up. But if we see a weaker US dollar, we might see a stronger yen at the start of the week, which might push this back down into this level, where before we find the stronger US dollar, the stronger US dollar, then we may get that weaker Japanese yen and see this take off. So yeah, very interesting to watch that one. Now I mentioned Canadian dollar pairs are on my watch list. I'm looking at all Canadian dollar pairs. So I've added Euro CAD onto the charts for this week. We've got, I'll just clear this off quickly. Weekly, We can see here we've got a strong level. Let me just see how this looks on the weekly chart as well. So weekly, we've got this rejection of the 61 and the 78% retracement level. Strong rejection of the 78% retracement level here. Now we did reject the 61.8% over here, and we came up and we took out that high before looking to make a reversal. However, we have found some support and we've been pushing up here. So now what I'm watching out for this week is how this is going to behave. We have had this sort of left shoulder, head, right shoulder previously. We've broken down slowly, a bit messy as we've broken down. You can see here lower low from this low, then we made a new lower low from this low, and we're coming back up and retesting this sort of lower high here at the moment. But what I'm looking for on EuroCAD is I think that this can have a strong sell-off from around these levels. If we see EuroCAD come up into this region here, previous resistance, we can see very strong 61.8, 78.6% retracement level. On the daily chart, if it comes up into this level and rejects this once more, then we could see a big sharp sell-off from these areas. So EuroCAD is something that I'm going to be watching out for. So Euro might start off the week and continuing a bit of strength, as I said, pushing up higher, and then we could see the Canadian dollar step in from around these levels. So I'm going to be watching out for EuroCAD. Keep an eye on that one on your charts. And just while we're talking about CAD, I'll jump on to the other Canadian dollar pairs so you can understand why. So I mentioned USD CAD for a while, that I'm looking for a big sell-off from sort of these regions. Strong 4-hour and daily resistance level. You can see here on the daily chart, we've got lots of resistance here, lots of resistance here. When you take the fib from top to bottom, you can see here this that 50 sort of 61.8% retracement. We're looking for this to come up into this a couple of weeks ago, but we sold off. It looks like we're going to come up into that level now. So I'm expecting price to push up into that region. So at the start of the week, we may be able to see a trade for USD CAD. We could see that weaker US dollar. Again, go back to the US dollar. If we do see the weaker US dollar here and push down a little bit, then we could see USD CAD pull back down to this 1400 area, 1.400, sorry, where we can look at taking that long trade up into this region. So we could have a left shoulder here, a head, and a right shoulder. We can come back down into that level and find support. Then we can see a trade up. But I will be wary of the trade of the long trade. I want to be taking profit after 100 pips, taking 50% profit after 100 pips, because I believe that the bearish push can come in quite strong, especially if we see something like US oil gain strength. If we could have a mini pullback, then continue this push up higher. So we need to be wary of the Canadian dollar strength that may come in and push this back down. So I will be looking for a trade up, but my sort of favorable trade will be when we're up in these regions here, is be looking for that hedge short trade, which could be the longer trade, the swing trade back down. So I see strong sell-off on Canadian dollar pairs from these levels. So you've got EuroCAD that we're expecting to see a slight push up higher on, and we're also seeing the same for USD CAD. Now I'll also go to Aussie dollar CAD because we're talking about Canadian dollar pairs right now, and what we can see here is it's not been quite very clear on Aussie dollar CAD. Sorry, you can see here we've had 0.1, 0.2, a fake out and a continuation to push up higher. We're just breaking the trend line now on the daily breakout candle here, very weak. We broke out, pushed back up to the upside. Remember, highlight the breakout candle, find the support at the bottom, drop down to the next time frame, which is the 4-hour. And you can see here we're sort of dancing on this support level from the breakout candle and not being able to break it just yet. Choppy here, push up, push down on Friday, a bit all over the place on Friday. Friday's price action, let's just see, we've got support, spike back up to the upside. However, I think we're going to see a bit of a retracement on Aussie dollar pairs before the next push back down for the second wave of selling, which we're going to get to in a minute. So at the moment, I'm looking for Aussie dollar CAD. I think, again, with the Canadian dollar pairs, we can see a strong sell-off. Out of all the Aussie dollar pairs, I think that this could be the bigger sell-off because of the Canadian dollar. So we're looking for weakness on all Aussie dollar pairs. um, sort of medium term sell off on Aussie dollar pairs. But given that I'm expecting the Canadian dollar to push down and oil to get stronger and help that push back down, I can see a bigger sell off on the Aussie dollar CAD. So I'm going to be watching this one more carefully. However, it's been very, very choppy here and hard to sort of decipher what is how to get into this entry right now. It's sort of all over the place. You could have been short around here, then bang, got taken back out. No, it is choppy. So I'm going to be watching out for this and seeing what signs there are to look at taking a trade. We could possibly pull back up, make a third touch of this trend line. But I'm watching out for a pullback up from these sort of levels on Aussie dollar CAD. I don't know if we've quite tapped this resistance area. We haven't. We might even just at the start of the week, we might just come back down, find a bit of support, and then make a proper pullback where we can look at taking an entry. At the moment, it's very, very choppy. As I said, we've got an area of resistance here, left shoulder, head, right shoulder, which has been a bit of a spike. This is choppy and a bit ugly here. Let's go back to the daily, 4 hour. Can't even really amend the trend line. So you see, we've got this area. I think we're going to find some support here, pull back up with the other Canadian dollar pairs, pull back up into this region where we want to be looking for a sell-off from around these regions, or possibly lower. But we're going to keep an eye on this level to see how this reacts. But keeping a close eye on Aussie dollar CAD shorts this week, guys. I think we could see a nice sell-off on those pairs. Now, while we're talking about Aussie dollar pairs, we've got here Aussie dollar, US dollar. So we've been looking for this pair to start showing some signs of bearishness, and it finally has at the end of last week, Thursday and Friday. Now, I'll clear all this off in a minute so it's a bit more clear on the daily, but we can see we've got a nice daily bearish candle here, and we're just broken through this 4 hour trend line, or we're just breaking through at the moment, this 4 hour inner trend line. So at the moment, what I expect is the Aussie dollar to maybe have a little bit of a push down at the start of the week, just to come into this area of support. You see we've got resistance, 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 find support, pull back up for retracement to retest this trend line in line with the 61% retracement level, where we'll be looking to short this pair, and then we can come back down. You can see that if we find this with the Fibonacci, if we come down into sort of these regions and find a base, a support to have that retracement, you can see how then the extensions on the Fibonacci line up perfectly with previous support as well. Then from these areas, I'm expecting the Aussie dollar, as I said, to find that find that support and have a big push up. But at the moment, I'm expecting to see the medium sort of move back down to the downside. So looking at Aussie dollar, I said, just clear this away a little bit. Looking for initially start of the week, we may just continue that push down from last week. May even be a good idea, given that the Aussie dollar is so strong at the moment. I wouldn't be put off of taking this trade. A little bit more risky, but I like it, and I think if we can see it, we're going to take it, because this could easily just turn back up and form a double top, could even go on to make a new high before dropping off. The Aussie dollar is strong on the daily time frames, which I'll get back to in a minute. So we'll be looking at possibly an intraday trade up here, and then we'll be looking at the short back down. But that's the sort of setup that we can see in Aussie dollar Aussie dollar US dollar at the moment. Finally start showing some bearishness, but we are only just tapping this trend line. We haven't actually broken, we haven't confirmed anything yet. So that is why we wait for the retracement first before trying to sell off. So that's why this trade could well be a very good trade. Obviously, again, more intraday, but we'll take profit at 100 pips and hold 50%, because then we'll hedge it down. And what I expect is hold the hedge trade down longer, and we'll hold the hedge trade as it comes down to these lows. But as I said, we are still bullish technically. If I just go to the daily, we are still, but let me just clear off the chart. We can see here we are still bullish on Aussie dollar, US dollar. We haven't actually broken anything to say that this is yet bearish. You can see here, very bullish here. A few bearish candles, then bang, back up to the upside. A few bearish candles, bang, up to the upside. A few bearish candles, could easily go back up to the upside. So we never know 100% what's going to happen in the market. So I will be looking at taking this short trade back up as we have that retracement of Aussie dollar, US dollar. Aussie dollar CAD, we've gone through. Aussie dollar Japanese yen, sort of similar situation. Looking at this pair at the moment, we've broken this trend line, coming into an area of support, seeing if we can have a pull, find some support here where we can then have a retracement. If I clear this all off and just go to the daily, we can see we've had this sort of evening star formation, 1, 2, 3. Now, before looking to sell off, I would be looking for a pullback on this daily candle. We may push down slightly before having a pullback and retrace, where we've got this left shoulder, come back up, retest that as a right shoulder, and then we have the bigger sell-off from here, the big sell-off back down. Here, in line with wherever this finds a support, it might push down again at the start of the week. We might see a little bit of a push down. So we could come back up and hit the 50% retracement, or we could come up and hit the 61% retracement. Depends on what this does at the start of the week. But this is the sort of setup that we'd be looking for in Aussie dollar Japanese yen to come back into this region, and then we have the big wave and the stronger wave of a sell-off. So we've been waiting for this. Selling up here is just guesswork. We've now shown some bearish signs here with the daily bearish engulfing. Now we're looking for a retracement on that engulfing candle, and we'll be looking for taking a sell or a short trade on that retracement. So we've covered that. We've covered Aussie dollar. We've covered many euro pairs. Now let's look at pound. So pound, we were very unlucky with pound with our trade. I won't go over it too much, but yeah, our levels were pretty good to look at taking a short order. However, that was where we had a short. Our stop loss was up here, and then you can see here with the volatility, that big move on Thursday out of nowhere, end of the month move, we got spiked out, manipulated out here, and just taken out by just above our stop loss. And then we in the same candle pulled all the way back down to our entry, and then continued to move down on Friday by 100 pips. So just didn't give us an opportunity to enter the market. Now, what I'm looking out for, and I do still like GBP USD to make a push down. If we do see what I'm thinking here and see a weakness on the US dollar, just like Euro USD, what I'm expecting is to see a slight pullback on this move from Friday. Remember, we are still sort of in an uptrend here. So we are still bullish on the daily and the 4 hour at the moment. We haven't, even though we've had a push down here, still higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher low. So what I'm expecting is this to find some support and push up here. And this is where that, again, that second wave of selling will come in and be a lot faster. So I'm looking for this to pop up into this region here, and then we'll be looking for a sell-off, aiming to come back down to 1.2250 and possibly even lower, but we'll get to that once we'll cross that bridge once we come to it. I think we could come back down to sort of these levels here. Again, if the US dollar does find strength and has a big push up here and comes up and takes out previous resistance, then we can expect the same on pairs like Euro USD to come down and take out the previous support levels here and make a new one before reversing back up to the upside. Same with GBP USD. So we can be looking at pairs coming down to these levels. So again, if this does, we do see this play out, this is a strong area of a daily support level for the dollar index. So daily support means stronger moves and bigger moves. So we find daily support here, we can expect a big move back up to the upside. Remember, we have been ranging for a month and we've just popped out. So there's nothing to say that we're not going to continue ranging. So what happens in the range? You break out, fake out to the downside, then a push up to the upside. So the only thing we're not too sure here at the moment is whether we're going to see a bit more weakness first down to this previous support, or we could simply just see this pop back up inside this on Monday and continue back up to the upside. So we have to be vigilant from the off and from the start. So expecting here a little bit of weakness from GBP USD here, from the US dollar, a bit of strength from the pound, which we want to see also with Euro GBP. A bit of strength from the pound would be ideal to see a pullback here in order to be able to take our long trade. So GBP USD, if we can see that push, that pullback, here is where we want to be looking for a sell. So we'll see a pullback, and then we want to be looking at taking a short trade down. And I said, then I think that is a nice swing trade down for us as well. The only one, GBP, JPY, the JPY pairs are a little bit tricky at the moment. Obviously coincide with US dollar and gold. Gold is pushing up higher at the moment, as we saw here. If gold can continue to push up higher, we may see Japanese yen pairs push down. However, we might see US dollar at the start of the week make gold make a little bit of a pullback and then a move up. GBP JPY is being not the clearest at the moment. What you can see here is this is a significant high and a significant low. We are in a bit of a range here with GBP JPY as well. However, we haven't managed to come up and test the high of the range, and we're sort of trading in the middle of the range right now, where we do have an area of support, as you can see here, which I did just have marked out. Now this area as well can we can call a 61.8% retracement level that is coming in to be hit with nice extension levels lining up with support. But we also have the argument where you could say, okay, well, we've had a nice retracement and we've rejected at 78% and we're pushing back down. So we're right back in the middle of this sort of range at the moment. 4 hour, you can see here, has made a high. So 4 hour bears are in control right now, but who knows what's going to happen as the week opens. So GBP JPY does correlate with GBP USD, obviously because of the pound. Not 100%, but there is some a good bit of correlation there. And we could see this potentially have a pullback before pushing down lower as well. We could see a push down on GBP JPY before a bigger push up to the upside, possibly to take out these lows. But we sort of have to watch this a little bit coming into next week. With Euro JPY as well, if we do see a push down on the Japanese yen pairs first, sorry, I'm trying to find it, then maybe we can get this pullback that we're going to be looking for very, very closely. That's GBP JPY. And just to quickly go to USD JPY, where we're talking about the Japanese yen pairs. Here we can see not being the nicest thing to look at USD JPY. We've got this range here that we broke out of, come back up and retested. I'll just highlight that just so you can remember. And now we're sort of made a lower low, lower high, lower low. Can call this a lower high here, lower low. Can call this a lower high. So there we are, suspect to having a push down and USD JPY making a lower low. Now again, if we have this weakness down to this sort of level here on the US dollar, then we could expect USD JPY to have a push down with the weaker US dollar. And then from there, if we see this come down into this sort of support level, then we might be able to look at possibly taking long trades with a stronger US dollar pushing back up, stronger US dollar pushing up. And if gold pushes down, starts to push down, so if gold pushes up and then gold pushes down longer term, then we could see USD JPY have a push up to the upside, because gold and USD JPY often have an inverse correlation. So you can see how why I've started off with the dollar index is because how it can affect the pairs at the start of the week. So understanding what the dollar index might do at the start of the week and where it might end up at the end of the week gives you a good understanding of what to expect on US dollar pairs at the start and at the end, so that you don't get caught up by, let's for instance, we do see a short move, the US dollar continue to weaken, knowing that we've got these support areas here. You don't get caught up with trying to long Euro USD too much, because we understand this is going to go higher, but then by understanding the US dollar is coming into some support, that we can understand that, okay, we could be looking for short trades back down here. Again, confluence, what I'm just saying is why I'm showing you so many pairs. The US dollar weakness make you understand that USD JPY could sell off at the start of the week, but also understanding that USD JPY has a inverse correlation with gold makes you understand that if gold is going to pull back at the start of the week, we could see USD JPY continue up slightly higher before pushing down when gold then pushes up. You have to watch all these things to help give you that extra confirmation on your trades. So that's, and then the last one there I just had was GBP AUD, which again, very, very bullish push, big push on Friday, Thursday and Friday. Again, these areas of support I think are going to come back down and get tested quite soon. We're having a bit of a pullback here. Expect this to continue up higher into sort of this region, retest the back of this trend line, retest this resistance. But even though we're looking strong right now, we are very, very bearish overall. We have broken a strong daily trend line on GBP AUD. So we are having a retracement, the swing retracement that I've been expecting. But I don't think it's going to come too far. And what we're going to be looking at for is this going to be a nice short trade as well. because with the pound weakness and if the Aussie dollar bulls step back in, I said I don't think the Aussie dollar retracement is going to be too big because it's so strong at the moment. This could then really open up the doors for a nice entry around these levels and push back down. You see here possibly getting a nice 38, 50%. Maybe could creep up to the 61.8. You never know in the market. You have to take it day by day. So a lot of the time, what we can see in the market and what we can vision will happen over the next kind of week or two. There's a lot of twists and turns in between on the way to getting there. So for instance, we know that nothing ever moves in a straight line, that on the way there it can go up, down, then it can or make it equal low, then go back up again, and then come back down low again, before then making the move up eventually. Sorry, before making the move up. The market has patience, the market has time, the market can play around as much as it wants from getting from A to B. It's never a straight road. So that's about it, guys, for today's Sniper Sundays. There's about 17 pairs there, as I say, covered. Lots to look out for this week. It's going to be busy from the start of the week, non-farm payroll week, so we might see some very, very early moves. So yeah, we're going to look to get involved from Monday morning. Monday morning, not very first thing, but we'll have a look because we know it's full of false moves Monday morning. But we'll be looking to see if there's any trades that are available to jump in straight away from Monday. Have a great evening, guys. Hope you're all well, and yeah, we'll catch up with you on market open if there's any big moves. If not, then I'll leave it till the morning call, where, as I said, I'll look at the Asian session, see the market open, see the Asian session, and then we'll reduce this 17 pair breakdown down to about 6 pairs. So whatever I see is the best, I'm going to say, right, guys, these are what we're looking out for today. This, and this. Let's go, and that's what we're going to be aiming to trade. Anything else, I'll be scanning the rest of the market. Anything else, I will bring to the table and update in the group. But what we will be doing, as I said, what I'll be doing is giving you the main ones to watch out for, so we can look to take those trades. Have a great evening, guys, and I will speak to you very, very soon. Thank you.